Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Richard Burns, and this is the Solomon Project, where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts. Hmm. Kind of blurred out there for a hot second. I don't know what that's about. I hope, according to this, I got full Wi Fi power. Yes, I do. This article popped up on Yahoo Finance. I visit Yahoo Finance often. I always keep in mind that it is a finance channel, right? Channel, or they report on financial news, but it's very important to make sure you know what the sources are. Very important. When you go to college to get that knowledge, when you write reports, the professors are expecting you to provide the sources of your information. So when you write a report, you might use some quotes. You might use a paragraph or a couple of sentences from your source, and you're supposed to put a little number or a little letter that corresponds with that same number or that same letter at the bottom of the page, also known as a footnote, so that whoever's reading your report can check wherever it is you got your information from. If you're talking about, let's say, paleontology, for example, and you cite a quote from a Marvel comic book, well, that might be a problem. The professor might just kick that report back to you and tell you you got to do better than that. Yeah, you got to do better than that. Your sources have to be credible. Are you getting something from a newspaper? Which newspaper is it? Is it the Post? Is it the New York Post? Is it the Washington Post? Is it the New York Times? Is it the Wall Street Journal? What is it? Because then the professor's going to look at it and say, well, you got it from this source. I'm going to need more because this particular source leans heavily on one side of the political spectrum. I need more. I understand whatever argument you're posing in your paper, but the source that you're using, you're going to need more than one source that paints the same picture as this one source you used. So you're going to need multiple sources. You're going to use multiple sources anyway, but in order to get an understanding as to where you're coming from, why you're latching on to a particular narrative, we need to see what your sources are. That's what happens in college. That's what happens at universities. When the professor grades it, they're going to check to see if how you're using these sources are in line with whatever it is that you're trying to present. Some people are pretty good at that. Some people are not. So there's this report on Yahoo Finance. It caught my attention because it's a common topic of today. A lot of people are throwing in their own opinions about this political event that we're going through, which is a presidential election. There's a lot of misinformation. There are a lot of lies. There's a lot of that nonsense, both sides-ism. Oh, well, these guys are just as bad as the others. No. Number one, that's not true. And number two, you got to pick a side. If you want to use your right to vote, you got to pick one side or the other. Or you can choose to throw it away if you want to. And that's exactly what you're doing, throwing away. Because the reality is, it's down to two people. That's it. It's your right. You can exercise your right if you want to. If you don't, then you're at the mercy of the next person that will exercise their right. Imagine being in a room with 10 people. 10 people want to play basketball indoors, or rather, 10 people have a choice: play basketball indoors or play basketball outdoors in the dead of winter. The dead of winter. Okay, what state are we talking about? Let's say you're in Michigan. Michigan gets cold. Michigan gets cold. Or let's say Wisconsin. They get cold too. Let's say it's Wisconsin, the northern part of Wisconsin. You got 10 basketball players, and one of them comes up with a brilliant idea of going out to play at minus 10-degree weather. Let's go play basketball outside. Let's put it to a vote. Okay. Out of the 10 players, 8 of them vote. 2 don't vote. So out of the 8 players, 5 of them vote to go play outside in minus 10-degree weather. 3 of them says, "No, we're not interested in that." The voting is done. The 2 that didn't vote, they're saying, "Well, wait a minute. I don't want to play outside." Well, you didn't vote. You didn't vote. Sorry, we're playing outside. Oh, I don't want to do. That's messed up. That's this, that, and the third. Well, you didn't vote. Had you voted, you 2 that didn't want to go outside, well, now you're indoors, because it would have been 6-4. But you didn't vote. Well, or throw it away. Vote for the dog that you guys were going to eat, or the cats that you were going to eat. Vote for them. You would have gotten the same results. Well, I'm not going to go. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so this report came up in Yahoo Finance. The source that the reporter used was a report generated by the Brookings Institute. The Brookings Institute. Let's go check them out. Let's check out the Brookings Institute. I went to the Brookings Institute and got the. Okay, so this is the Brookings Institute. Okay, let me read it out just in case people are driving when they're listening to this. This is their homepage, their webpage, and it says the Brookings Institution conducts independent research to improve policy and governance at the local, national, and global levels. Now, can you tell, just from what I read, whether they lean left, right, or center. Can you tell? Anybody can say whatever they want. Anybody can say whatever they want about the Brookings Institute. Well, you know what? Now that I know that this reporter from Yahoo News got their information from the Brookings Institute, I dug a little deeper. I'm going to read you what I found. Okay, it's an American think tank that conducts research and education in the social sciences. Well, what are the social sciences? Social sciences. Do you hear those two words, social and sciences? Psychology is a social science. Psychiatry is a social sciences. Sociology is a social science. Okay. So economics is a social science. Oh, there it is, economics. So research and education in social sciences, primarily in economics, governance, foreign policy, global economy, and economic development. Whoa. The founder's name was Robert S. Brookings, and it was formed 108 years ago in 1916. Whoa, are you for reals? It's that old? Let me give you some interesting information about this. It was founded in 1916 as the Institute for Government Research, the IGR. Wow. The first private organization devoted to analyzing public policy issues at the national level. That's a quote, by the way. And look, it's got a number next to it, number 24. It's got a footnote. Wow. Okay. What? But wait a second now. See, when you dig into people's history, you find some important details. The Institute of Economics with funds from the Carnegie Corporation? Funds from the Carnegie Corporation. What? So what kind of information were they putting out when they first started, when they're getting funded by a corporation like Carnegie, which was huge? Carnegie was one of the wealthiest people in the United States. Oh, look at this. This is fascinating right here. During the Great Depression, economists at the Brookings embarked on a large-scale study commissioned by President Franklin D. Roosevelt to understand its underlying causes. Franklin D. wanted to understand the underlying causes of the Great Depression. But check out what happened, because this is important. Brookings' first president, Harold G. Moulton, and other Brookings scholars later led an effort to oppose Roosevelt's National Recovery Administration because they thought it impeded economic recovery. Of course. Understand that Franklin D. Roosevelt applied a lot of social programs and the corporate world does not like social programs. With the U.S. entry into World War II in 1941, Brookings researchers turned their attention to aiding the administration with a series of studies on mobilization. In 1948, Brookings was asked to submit a plan for administering the European Recovery Program. The resulting organization scheme assured that the Marshall Plan was run carefully and on a business-like basis. Why am I making such a big deal about this? Well, the Brookings Institution now has transformed because the Brookings Institution is now a nonprofit organization. Nonprofit organization. What does that mean? That means they're not beholden to any corporation. That's what that means. When it was funded by Carnegie, if Carnegie didn't want you putting out any kind of report that has any information of any wrongdoing from himself and his corporation, you're going to do what he tells you because he's the one giving you the money. He's your boss. Well, now the Brookings Institution doesn't have corporations as a boss. Now the Brookings Institution is nonprofit. Well, now, what does that mean? Exactly what I told you. That's what it means. It means that corporations can't or don't tell the Brookings Institution what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. They're going to say and do what they want. But don't forget now, there's such a thing called a brand or branding. And if you want to be considered credible, you gotta watch yourself. A lot of businesses are very jealous with their brands. You could put that to the test if you want to. If you have a channel, you can always put that to the test. Start talking trash about certain corporations. You just might get an email telling you to cease and desist. If not, you better have big pockets because they're going to drag your butt into court. And they're going to punish you through the courts. They're going to punish you. Let's go to the article. Now that we know who the Brookings, why am I having such a hard time with that word Brookings? Let's go check and see that article that I was telling you about. Here we go. Here is an article by Jana Heron. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So the title is What Three Economists Say is in Store in a second Trump economy. Whoa. What three economists say is in store in a second Trump economy? Well, guess what? Go ahead, vote for Trump, guys. Vote for Trump, because according to these three economists, what we can expect is, and here are the quotes, okay? So, again, this is sourced from the Brookings Institution. What to expect? Chaos, destructive, a big hit to people's pocketbooks. Yes, that's what they say. This isn't some content creator on YouTube saying it. This ain't some party affiliate saying it. This ain't some Republican or Democrat saying it, or an independent saying it. No, it's the Brookings Institution. And it says it right here. That's what the economy will look like under a second Trump administration, according to three economists across the policy spectrum. If the GOP presidential candidate enacts the two major policies he's promising on the campaign trail, huge tariffs and mass deportations, you can expect chaos, destruction, and a big hit to your pocketbooks. Okay? Americans will face higher prices and product shortages from the tariffs. That's what they're saying. Non-profit organization, they're not getting paid by corporations to say what they want them to say, and you already know corporations lean right, they don't lean left. While consumer spending will suffer and jobs remain unfilled, harming local economies dependent on immigrants. Oh my God, here we go with the immigration again. While they differ on degree, these experts all agree under these policies that the economy will go the same way, in the wrong direction. So you got these three economists. They differ on just how far it will go, but they all agree that it's going to all go in the same direction, the wrong direction. There you go. Okay, so that's the Brookings Institute, right? They go on to say, under empty warehouses, empty shelves, they say on the stump, the former president has called for a 60% tariff on Chinese imports, along with a blanket 10 to 20% on all remaining goods imported from other countries. This is an escalation of what Trump imposed during his first term, when his tariffs affected some $300 billion in imported goods. Now, Mr. Softy Biden, right? Because that's what they say he is. I mentioned this before, maybe in a private conversation or two, because I had to wake some people up because they keep repeating misinformation and nonsense. I spoke about that and what Biden did with the flow of immigration from the southern border. More misinformation on that, but let me get on this one. Okay, so let me repeat that. This is an escalation of what Trump imposed during his first term, when his tariffs affected some $300 billion in imported goods, some of which Biden has not rolled back. He didn't take it away. But yet you hear all this nonsense. That's why you got to be careful of your sources, because there are people out here with bad intentions. They're lying. And if you're an investor, you got to know this stuff, or you better know this stuff. And that was according to Wendy Edelberg, a senior fellow in economic studies at the Brookings Institution, a centrist think tank. Centrist meaning in the middle, not to the right, not to the left, in the middle. And it's funky because I've seen articles from left-leaning publications that accuse the Brookings Institution of being to the right, but I've seen publications from the right blaming the Brookings Institution of being on the left. It goes on to say, the article, U.S. companies dependent on imports and who will bear the cost of the tariffs, per Edelberg, will scramble to negotiate contracts, find other exporters offering lower prices, or try to source the goods stateside, all at the same time. Some will be successful, many won't, and Americans may find that some of the goods that they want won't be available. Here's a quote. What you're gonna find is, for some period of time, empty warehouses and empty shelves, according to Edelberg. Now, lately, there have been reports from financial publications that have stated either the same thing or something extremely similar to what Edelberg is saying here in this article. Because the average person here in the United States does not understand what the implications are for a tariff. Now, tariffs can be used to help balance things out, but the way Trump wants to apply the tariffs are harmful.